The November 20th, 2025 hearing for the Planning and Land Development Regulation Commission is now called to order. And could I have you silence any audible devices that you may have? And please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. I would like to thank you for joining us this morning. And Ms. Grinning, could I please have a roll call?
Member Arison?
Present.
Member Craig?
Here.
Member Shelley?
Here.
Member Costa?
Here.
Member Bush?
Here.
Member Sixa?
Here.
Chair Mills?
Here. Thank you, Ms. Grinning. We do have minutes from the October 16th, 2025 meeting. Is any discussion on the minutes?
I'll move to approve.
I'll move the second.
I have a comment. No, it's okay. On V25-062, I voted against this project. However, the minutes reflect that it was unanimous. And on V25-056, I voted for this project, and it shows that I voted against it. So I think there was just an error on those two items, and I wanted to fix that for the record. Yeah. You did.
Okay.
If only.
Ms. Grinning, can you see that those corrections are made?
Yes, sir.
And do you want to go ahead and approve the minutes with the corrections that have been mentioned?
I'll make my motion to approve the minutes with the corrections as submitted by Ms. Bush.
I second those.
Okay. Okay, any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. If anyone would like to speak for or against any of the cases being heard today, please fill out a form at the back of the dais here and hand it to Ms. Grinning to my immediate left. And we will be limiting you to a 3-minute time limit. After the comments have been heard, I will give the applicant an opportunity to address any concerns the speakers have and answer any questions the commissioners may have. And at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Soria for legal comments.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and this is for applicants and members of the public that decisions by this body on special exception cases and cases which rezone real property, decisions on this body by cases which rezone real property from one classification to another pursuant to the zoning ordinance are recommendations only to the county council and do not constitute a final hearing. New evidence may be introduced at the county council public hearing. Decisions on special exceptions and variances made by this body constitute final action subject to an appeal to the county council. And what this means is that no new evidence may be presented at the time of the county council public hearing on the appeal. An aggrieved party that appeals such a decision is confined to the record made before this body. Hearings by this body on rezonings, special exceptions, and variances are quasi-judicial in nature, meaning that this body is acting more like a court and must take into account all oral, written, or demonstrative evidence presented. Their decisions on these cases must be based on competent substantial evidence on the record, and competent substantial evidence has been defined as that evidence a reasonable mind would accept to support a conclusion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Soria. And while on legal comments, I'd like to ask the commission to disclose for the record any ex parte communications that have occurred before or during the public hearing at which a vote is to be taken on any quasi-judicial matter. And I'll start with my immediate right with Mr. Urson.
None.
I have none. None.
None.
None.
None.
And I have none. Okay, we do have some items to be, is it either continued or withdrawn? Ms. Tucker, these are yours, V25060 and V25067.
Good morning, members. For the record, Kelly Tucker, Planner 1, Planning and Development Services. So for these two cases, the applicants did not meet our due public notice, so we are asking for a continuance to our December 18th PLDRC hearing, and I will work diligently with the applicants to make sure that they do get to you at that meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Tucker. Any questions for staff? Okay, well, let's take these one at a time just to keep it clean. V25060, I'll entertain a motion
I'll motion.
to continue.
Table till next month.
Correct, December 18th.
That's what she asked. Yep.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion on the floor for Mr. Urson to continue V25060 to December 18th, 2025. And a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, on our next case, V25067, do I have a motion on that one?
I'll motion that as well.
For the next meeting on December 18th, 2025?
Second.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor to continue V25067 to December 18th, 2025 for Mr. Urson and a second for Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Tucker.
Thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving. See you guys next month.
Thank you. Okay. We do have one unfinished old business. It's V25064. So, Ms. Shelley, could I get that case read into the record, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-25-064, variance to the minimum yard requirements on urban single-family residential R3 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Mr. Chakusa, this is yours.
Thanks. Good morning. I would like to start by addressing a discrepancy that does not change the variance request, but needs to be stated. The square footage for the addition is 890 square feet rather than 750. It does not change the variance request. The applicants are requesting a variance to reduce the northern front yard from 30 feet to 19 feet for a 890 square foot addition to the principal structure. The property is zoned R3, which requires a minimum front yard of 30 feet and a minimum side yard of 8 feet on one side, 20 feet combined, and a minimum rear yard of 20 feet. The subject property is located southwest of the intersection of Audubon Avenue and Cordova Avenue and De Leon Springs on a corner lot. The proposed addition will be where the mother of the current homeowner will reside. They wish to create an addition to make an ADA accessible residence for their mother. The proposed ADA accessible design features include, but not limited to, wider door frames, a roll-in shower, the elimination of tight corners. The proposed structure will provide a bedroom, a bathroom with a shower, a living room, and a wet bar. Upon the first staff review, there were discrepancies on the proposed structure, if it would be an accessory structure, an ADU, or a home addition, which prompted the continuance. And now the structure is a home addition to the principal structure. Furthermore, the applicant explained that the proposed addition will be placed near the driveway and attached to the garage and the residence for internal accessible reasons and for internal access to the home. However, staff recognized that the corner lots are not inherently special or unique conditions, as it is a standard in subdivisions with intersecting streets. Applicant has adequate space to the south or can reconfigure the layout of the addition to fit the needs of the residents. Environmental permitting reviewed the variance request and stated they have no objection, but must comply with the environmental regulations of the Land Development Code. Staff recommends denial as the variance does not meet criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. Should PLDRC find the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence for approval, the conditions are provided for your consideration. And in addition to that, we will make an alteration to the first condition to recognize the 890 square foot addition rather than the 750. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Costa?
Yes, good morning. Just want to verify, this property has 2 front yards, correct?
Yes, correct.
And looking at the aerial shot, the true front yard is the one where the driveway is connected, so the addition is going on what would consider to be a side yard.
Yes.
And if I'm looking at these numbers right, the side yard setback is 20 feet. So in essence, if that was a side yard, it'd be a 1-foot variance. Just want to clarify all those points.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Costa. And also, just to clarify, we're increasing the square footage size from 750 to 890,
Yes.
according to what this report says. What about lot coverage? Does that have an effect on lot coverage?
It does not.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Is the applicant present? Could I get you to come forward, please? if they want to fill out a public participate, are they the applicant? She would have to fill out a form. If you want to come to the microphone, please. And state your name and address for the record.
Jennifer Rollerson, 5251 Audubon Avenue, Springs.
Okay, to answer your question, if your mom is part of the applicant, she can come up and speak with you and just give me her name and address. As far as the neighbors, they would have to fill out a form and give it to Ms. Grinnan on my left here.
Okay.
And she can speak after you've made your presentation.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, so would Miss Catherine need to go over there now and speak with her? Okay.
Yeah, she can do that now.
Miss Catherine, if you want to give visit.
Or she can give it to her after the fact. I will go ahead and recognize her. But
Okay.
go ahead with your
Thank you, I'm
presentation.
sorry. Okay.
That's fine.
I'm gonna try to keep my emotions out of this. We grew up with generational homes also, because when your parents do kind of reach a certain age, in medical situations, we did grow up to where my grandparents did have actually more like an in-law suite attached to their homes too. So I grew up with visiting my grandparents with my Grammy and Paws attached also, and then I saw it growing up, how it all actually did work out, and how it also kept them from going to certain facilities, and you take care for your seniors and your elderly, and making these relationships you would never have any other way, and you wouldn't have it any other way because you also don't want other folks sometimes taking care of your own family, if that's fair to say. So now my children have seen it also. Well, now the situation has came. I am my mother's only child that's here in the state. My brothers are in the military and other career fields where they're not here. So not only is she a part of my major support system for our family, I feel like we are for each other. So there's certain mobility situations to where last year when we sold our home in DeLand, we had already been talking about how our next home is going to need to be all of us together. And she has certain medical situations to where, as much as we want to pretend, we always want to say she's still in her 40s. We're all not, right? Because I'm 45 and she's in her 70s. But more of her mobility issues have now kind of been in light, because I think she used to hide some of that from us. But now we're under one roof, so we see more of it. And so we understand we're asking, some folks will say, why don't you put it in the back of your property? Well, because also if you see the elevation of the back of our property and where mom safely can pull into the garage with weather, and it's Florida, right? We're going to have weather. I have found out now sometimes she sits in the garage, she sits in her car and waits for the rain to stop before she can try to come inside. If she can park into that one garage and we can have the entryway from right there where we're proposing, that's a shorter distance for her. It's safer. There's the door. There's no steps then also involved. So if we go from the backside of the house, we then have steps involved. I also have some photos of the backside of our home, so you'll see the elevation angles and how it actually could even, it would be more of a project, even with the elevation issues in our backyard, than asking for 11 feet on our side. I'm trying not to, because I know my mother, she has been the local kindergarten and second grade teacher at our local elementary school my whole life. She's the woman that hides a cane in her car because she doesn't want people to see it. So that bothers me. Like, she didn't want to bring it today, but she still volunteers every day. I need to take care of my mom, and this is the best way to do that.
Okay.
So I'm just asking, please, for the 11 feet so we can get this going.
Okay.
Because we also found out she doesn't, the upstairs bedroom, all the bedrooms are upstairs. So that's an issue. The showers have steps. All of this we are making sure has the capability to take care of her and moving forward.
Okay.
She's talking like I'm dead.
I'm
You wanna-
sorry. I don't know. It's just like, I
Good
don't know.
days, I really do.
Okay.
She does. She has great days, and then some days I'm telling our children to go ask Grandma what she wants for dinner, and I'm having them bring her plate.
Okay.
So I'm sorry I got emotional.
No, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. Ma'am, would you like to speak? Or you got anything you'd like to say?
You're at answering
If you wanna
questions because
just-
it's shorter.
If you want to state your name and address for the record,
I'm
please.
Vicky Belzer, 5251 Audubon Avenue, De Leon Springs, Florida.
Okay.
And I've lived there 37 years, and she's
my
right, she was
childhood
raised
home.
there.
Yeah.
From the time you were in second grade?
Second
First
grade.
grade, second grade, yeah. And the main thing is, you know, I think I have a lot of time before I'm to this point, right? But yes, I do have health issues, but they're the type that has, you know, I know it's public record, so I don't want to go too deep. But, you know, with autoimmune stuff, you have flares and stuff, so sometimes you just have more issues than other times. And then affects my mobility. So, anyway.
Okay. All right. We do have a public participation for this case, which you obviously know. Do we have any more than one?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. We're going to hear their comments, and then if you need be, if you feel like you need to say something after that, you will have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. I don't have the form, so I don't know the name.
I'm sorry.
Okay, you can
we
have
go
a seat.
back?
Yes, yeah, you can have a seat. Ms. Dindal, Catherine Dindal, if you'd like to come forward. Good morning.
Good morning.
Could I get your name and address for the record?
Catherine Dindal, 356 Cordova Avenue, De Leon Springs.
Okay, you had a comment you'd like to make for this case?
Yeah, in favor of Vicky. I'm her neighbor directly across Audubon. I'm on a corner lot as well, and I've known Vicky since I moved there in 2019. I can see the mobility issues that have developed. I have them too. I have hydrocephalus, so I completely understand why she needs it level and safer for her to be in her own house. I walked the proposed addition with Jen a few days ago. Won't infringe on any visibility from the intersection. Straight in, straight out. It'd be wonderful for Vicky, and I'm just very much in favor of it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your comments. Okay, we don't have any other public participation forms for this case. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
I apologize. We did provide some photos. The aerial does show, it's kind of an older aerial. We had all those trees removed. So it is a nice, clear, like even if you're heading, which I'm sorry, so I do have photos also of like I walked Cordova and I was taking photos. Even like midway down Cordova, approaching that stop sign of Audubon and Cordova, it's completely clear. We are not at all asking to go towards the front side of Audubon. It actually sets back just a little bit. But we've really tried to make, if there would have even been an obstruction, we made sure to already kind of try to handle that, so.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Costa?
Case V-25-064, I would make a motion that we approve variance number 1 with the 2 recommended conditions and changing the square footage to 890 feet from 750.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor to approve variance 1 with the 2 staff conditions and change the square footage from 750 to 890. So it would reflect that. From Mr. Costa and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I can have a moment, I'd like to take this time to basically say that I too am in a multi-generational family situation, and I sympathize with your needs. My question is to staff: is there something for us to consider down the road that potentially, when these come before us as a true ADU as opposed to a ADU rental unit, that we can kind of streamline this process for them? Because I know they've been, to get in front of us, it's taken at least 3 months minimum for what I'm considering to be a 1-foot variance, because it's technically a side yard, even though it has a front yard on there. But something for us to talk about, possibly at the end of the meeting, that maybe we can kind of streamline this a bit to make it a little bit easier for these folks. That's my comment. That's all.
Sure, we can bring it up later.
Moving forward. Yeah.
Any other comments on the motion?
If I can add, I 100% agree with Commissioner Acosta. We're now experiencing more seniors that are aging in place and want to stay in their community. I also have a multi-generational home. I am a caregiver for my senior grandparents and my autistic adult brother. So I totally understand. And I think that we are going to see the increase in the number of people asking for additions or renovations to their single-family homes in order for them to stay in place. And I think that we need to accommodate that as much as we can, as fast as we can, because the aging, we're going to see this shift happen much faster than we have in the past 5 years. So I will second Commissioner Acosta, and when we have this discussion later on, I'd be happy to support that motion moving forward.
I think most of us agree with the two commissioners there, so. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Good luck. Okay, Ms. Shelley, that's the end of the old unfinished business. I'm getting tongue-tied here. Now we're going to move right into our new business. Ms. Shelley, if you give our first case, please.
Yes, sir. Case number V-25-058, variances to the accessory structure requirements on urban single-family residential R4 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. This is Ms. Ray's. Oh, there you are. I look back over there.
Snuck up on you. Good morning, Kristen Ray with Planning and Development Services. So the applicant is requesting 2 variances for a proposed in-ground swimming pool and screen enclosure. Variance 1 is to reduce the north waterfront yard from 25 feet to 15 feet for the pool. And variance 2 is to reduce the north waterfront yard from 25 feet to 15 feet for the screen enclosure. The subject property is currently developed with an elevated 2,332 square foot, 2-story single-family residence. The residence was constructed on stilts in 2003, making all the livable area on the 2nd floor. In our code, a swimming pool can be located no closer than 8 feet from any side or rear lot line. However, for waterfront lots, the pool must meet the waterfront lot setback. The property is located within the Natural Resource Management Area, which requires a 50-foot upland buffer from any wetlands. Environmental permitting reviewed the request and did not object. However, a wetland alteration permit will be required at the time of building permit for any impact to the wetlands or the wetland buffer. The applicant did state in the written petition that the proposed swimming pool will be used for low-impact hydrotherapy. Staff's recommendation for variances 1 and 2 is for denial, as they did not meet any of the variance criteria. Should the PLDRC find that the applicants have provided competent substantial evidence for approval, 3 conditions were provided for consideration. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Ray. Any questions for staff? Ms. Bush?
Yes. In the written petition by the applicant, it says that they were previously told by the zoning department that the minimum waterfront setback for a pool was 15 feet. And that is why that they designed the current site plan to reflect that. So they were under this assumption, and then they received that information that it was incorrect. So is this true? And can you walk me through what happened with the applicant?
We did not find any notes in our system of that conversation, so I'm not.
Okay.
I can't speak on it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Ms. Ray. Is the applicant present? Good morning, sir. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Yes, I'm Douglas Pat Burdett. My address here in Astor is 1544 River Edge Court.
Okay, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I understand why they recommend against it, because it's the definition of a variance, that I don't meet those criteria. In the notes that I was sent, I did notice on section 72-227, section A, subsection 6, that a pool can be no closer than 8 feet measured from the water's edge. So I'm a little bit confused by that. We're looking to place it 15 feet. Staff also had mentioned that I could move the pool closer to the residence, which from the residence to the 25-foot setback line is only 5 feet 8 inches. So I really don't have any room to move it closer. With this 10-foot variance that I'm looking for, I intend to install a container pool. It's 8 feet wide and 20 feet long, and it's only 4 feet deep, so just enough to walk around. So that'll allow me to move the pool 1 foot away from the residence, so give me good egress there. And then I only have 12 inches, 1 foot on the other side, which 8 inches of that is a concrete wall, and that's where the screen enclosure would mount and go up at an angle to the upper deck, because I do have some big oak trees right there on the side. I had added a carport to my site plan, and that's when I was notified that the pool setback would be 15 feet. So I had had my site plan redrawn for that. I was there to get the carport signed off by zoning, and I was told then that that was the 15 feet. So I went and had that redrawn. And then when I went back, they told me no, that was 25 feet, and couldn't find out who I'd talked to, and I didn't remember who I'd spoken to 2 or 3 weeks earlier about that. So that's where that came from. But again, we could find no record of anybody saying that or any notes. Okay. So that's why we're here for the variance. And in this little enclave, there's only 2 streets there. And this house, built in 2003, is the newest house in there. A lot of them were old fishing camps that had been added onto. So the proximity to the water's edge is not out of line at all. Some of these houses even have structures over the water, and it's not where it would inhibit anybody's view. There's only 2 houses to the end of the canal there, and the house closest to me is about 100 feet away. So it wouldn't be any thing that would block their view, and across it is the marina. So we have no impact on anybody for this.
Okay. What was that you referenced? Was it code that you referenced?
Yes, it was the ordinance, section 72-277, section A, subsection 6 of the zoning ordinance. In-ground pool should be located no closer than 8 feet as measured from the water's edge from any side or rear lot line, and the accompanying screen enclosures to be no closer than 5 feet.
Okay, Mr. Ashley, I'm sorry, Ms. Ray, he probably knows the ordinance better.
I'm just trying to get her attention to come up, but if I could gladly address that. Scott Ashley from the record, zoning manager. That 8 foot is from the property line to the water's edge of the pool. So that is our setback requirement. The code section further goes on to say that again, any kind of type of pool or screen enclosure, anything similar water feature associated with, has to comply with the waterfront setbacks.
Got it.
In this case, R4 is a 25-foot waterfront setback.
Okay. Okay, so the water's edge means the pool.
The pool,
edge.
yes.
Okay,
Not necessarily
So in
the,
a normal situation on a lot where you're not on a waterfront,
Okay.
you would be 8 feet from the rear lot line.
all right, thank you for that clarification. Sorry, Ms. Ray, but he's been around a long time. Okay, the other question I had for you was the elevation. There is some flooding, obviously, from the river and that going on in that area at certain times of the year. What's the elevation on this property where you're proposing the pool? Do you have any flooding issues?
No, I haven't had any flooding issues there. The last year during this hurricanes, when the river was at record levels, I had no water on my property, save for just right along the property line. And of course, the street was about 8-10 inches underwater. But I've got no issue like that on my property.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Ms. Bush?
Thank you. You knew before I even hit my button. You had mentioned that this is going to be a container pool. Is this going to be above ground or below ground?
No, it is an in-ground pool,
Okay.
but it will be level with the first floor of the residence. So that's going to be,
So you're building like a deck around it?
but
or?
it's going to be about 3 feet above grade, which is where the finished floor has to be.
Okay.
So what you would see from the water's edge as you go by is about 3 feet of a split face block wall is my construction design.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have any public participation forms for this case?
No, sir.
Okay. If there's no other questions for the applicant, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Any discussion on this case? Come on, guys. I wanted to get out of here.
I'll make a motion for you.
Go ahead. Okay, you got it.
Case V-25-058, I make a motion to approve variances 1 and 2 with the staff recommended conditions, which I believe there are 3.
Second.
I second that.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor to approve variances 1 and 2 with the 3 conditions from staff for Mr. Costa and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, Ms. Shelley, can I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V
Good luck.
-25-066, variances to the accessory structure and off-street parking requirements on urban single-family residential R9 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Mr. Jaskula, this one is yours also.
Thanks. I forgot to mention, for the record, Joseph Jaskett, Planner 2. The applicants are seeking 2 variances. Variance 1, a variance to reduce the eastern side yard from 5 feet to 3.5 feet for a proposed 420 square foot attached carport. The variance 2, a variance to allow the existing driveway to be within 5 feet of the eastern lot. The current zoning is R9 with a minimum setback of 25 feet from the front, 7 feet from the sides, and 20 feet from the rear. The subject property fronts Broad Avenue, approximately 280 feet east of the intersection of South Peninsula Drive and Broad Avenue in Daytona Beach. The property is developed with a roughly 1,200 square foot single family residence originally constructed in 1954 and an in-ground swimming pool that was constructed in 2015 by the current owners. There was a lot line adjustment in 2019 that removed a 6 foot by 125 foot or 750 square feet area from the side, from the eastern side, and resulted in the concrete driveway being located at the eastern lot line with no separation. According to the applicant, the variance is requested to provide a covered parking and protect the vehicles from the sun exposure throughout the year. The driveway currently ceases at the beginning of the front facade of the principal structure, and a pool pump is already installed within the footprint of the proposed carport, and the carport has been designed to accommodate its location while maintaining adequate space for the vehicle parking. The carport will be attached to the principal structure, maintaining architectural consistency with the roof line, and will not provide any internal access. Staff also identified that the other variance to the existing driveway due to the lot line adjustment that ended with the driveway abutting the property line, when it needs to be more than 5 feet away. The applicant gave a special condition that they are limited to the viable space due to an underground propane tank used for their pool heating and a tree abutting their driveway in the front yard. These limitations limit the placement of the carport more in the south and further from the side yard. Originally, the variance sought a 0 setback. However, the applicant substantially revised their design and provided a 3.5 foot setback to help mitigate overhang and drainage onto the neighbor's property. However, staff recognized that the propane tank's location was due to the applicant's own action, and the tree could be removed to accommodate the proposed carport to meet setbacks. Staff also recognized that the variance request 2 is not the fault of the owner or their action as it came before their purchase. Staff also has recognized that there are 2 letters of support for the variance. And environmental permitting reviewed the variance request and stated they have no objection as long as they comply with the environmental regulations, land development code. Staff staff recommends denial for variance 1 as the variance does not meet criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then staff recommends approval for variance 2 as it meets at least 3 of the 5 criteria. Should PLDRC find the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence for approval, the conditions are provided for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions for staff? This survey that you have here, it doesn't depict where the proposed carport's going, does it?
The variance site plan does.
Variance site plan does.
Page 9.
Okay.
It's going to be on the eastern side of the
Oh, okay.
residence.
All right. All right, I was looking at the survey. Okay, thank you, sir. Any other questions for staff?
No.
All right, is the applicant present? Thank you, sir. Good morning. Could I get your name and address for the record?
My name is Elizabeth Parker, and I am the owner of 109 Broad Avenue in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Okay, you've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
I do have a question, and I know I should have asked Joseph this question before, because we did purchase the home from our neighbor. And before we purchased the home, he took, I think, 6 feet, which is fine. It's his property. If he wants to pay taxes on it, he can do that. But if he hadn't taken that 6 feet, we would not be here right now, correct? We would have the room. So I guess my question is, why can't I just, I know there's rules and regulations, but why can't I just go further? I'm here for a variance. So I appreciate everything Joseph's done, and it makes a lot of sense. But my question is, I'd like to be able to move it over a little further
Than what you proposed here?
than what I've proposed, because it's the rules, that's what he's gone by. But if I guess it's maybe just a question.
Well, whenever you come for a variance, what we look at too is the least impact. And if you can
Okay.
move it away further, then obviously that would be in your benefit to request that. Because that would be the fact of being able to do what's the less impact of the actual ordinance. Okay?
Okay.
Does
All
that
right.
answer your question?
I think so. I
Okay.
think so.
I have a question.
Yeah, Mr. Costa.
Yeah, is this structure, is it a masonry structure? Is it aluminum structure? Is it
Wooden
structure?
It's basically a roof with just posts. We literally just
Okay.
want to be able to cover the car.
So it's not a temporary or a quasi-temporary structure, then it is a permanent
It's a
structure?
permanent structure, and it
Got
will
it.
also cover the pool equipment,
Mhm.
which will be nice, the pump that we have there.
Okay. So the neighbor that you said you bought this property from is, if I'm looking at this picture, your neighbor to the right?
Yes. The east.
Are they one of the letters of recommendation?
Yes, yeah.
They are?
He's
Okay.
totally fine with it.
He's the Peninsula building guy? Harrington?
Nope, Peninsula Building guy lives across the street.
Heather Roberts?
Nope, she lives across the street. It is Shark Bird is his name.
Do we have that letter?
He
We
sent
don't, it's not in our
his-
packet, so that's why I'm asking the question.
Joseph had mentioned to me that, and I thought it was in here, that my neighbor did send, I'm sure it's in here. I'm sure that I read it. He was the very first person, the day that I told him about it, he did send an email. How
That
do
would
we
be
find that?
that would be very helpful if we had that.
Oh, I'm sure that I read it. I printed out the first few pages. Joseph, I know we have it here somewhere. No, Steve's across the street. His name is Shark. It's in here. It was that he had no problem with it. And of course, now that I'm under pressure here, I can't find it.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant?
Nope.
Okay. Do we have any public participation forms for this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add, ma'am?
No, other than I'm sorry I cannot find that it's in here that my neighbor next door, Sharkbird, has, was totally fine with it. He actually sent the email the day that I mentioned it.
Okay.
That's about it.
All right, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion, and see where we go with it. Okay?
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. All right, folks, any discussion or motion? Nobody wants to
All
do
right,
that here early today.
I'll motion it. Well, then we can discuss it. Motion, case number V-25-066. I make a motion to approve variances 1 and 2 with 3 staff recommended conditions.
I believe it's 4.
Is it 4? I can't even see straight then. Yes, 4, sorry. 4 recommended
second that.
conditions.
Okay, I got a motion to approve variances 1 and 2. I guess that's how many there are. With the 4 staff conditions for V-25-066 from Mr. Costa and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion?
Yeah, Chair. And that's actually for staff as well. So I'm listening to what she's saying, that I guess the lot was split at some point. But if I'm reading this correctly, it meets the criteria of the minimum 7,500 square foot and the minimum lot width. Is that right? So it is conforming property. All right, thank you.
Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Good luck.
Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number B-25-069. Variance to the minimum yard requirements on prime agriculture A1 zoned property.
Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Mr. Harris, this one's yours.
Good morning. Courtney Harris, Planner 2, Planning and Development Services. The applicant is seeking 3 variances to the minimum yard requirements to establish a 50-foot by 65-foot buildable area for a new single-family residence on prime agricultural zone property. Variance 1 is to reduce the southern front yard from 100 feet to 40 feet 6 inches. Variance 2 is to reduce the side yard from 50 feet to 25 feet. Variance 3 is to reduce the eastern front yard from 100 feet to 75 feet. The parcel is 1.25 acres and was originally created as part of the Howe and Currier's unrecorded 1909 plat, making it an older historic lot that predates modern zoning standards. The parcel is also a corner lot, which requires 2 100 front yard setbacks. A vested rights determination was denied in 2023, but during later review, the parcel was confirmed as a valid non-conforming lot. On August 26th of 2025, the DRC approved the overall development plan to establish the parcel as a buildable lot of record. As a condition of approval, the applicant was required to dedicate the right-of-way along the eastern boundary. The site contains wetlands, a 50-foot upland buffer, and areas within flood zone A. The proposed home location, wetland buffers, and floodplain, the applicant will avoid those with the request. Environmental permitting reviewed the proposal and had no objection, provided all environmental permits are obtained during building permitting review. Staff recommendation is to approve variance requests 1 through 3 with the 3 staff conditions. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for staff?
Yes, I do. I may have missed it when you said it. How long ago was this? 2025 is when it was basically codified and it approved as a standard lot. But how long ago was it split at 125? Because these are all 10-acre lots out there in that section of Samsula. Just curious when that happened. Do we have a timeline?
I don't have that.
Okay. All right.
Okay, any other question for staff? Is the applicant present? Thank you, Mr. Harris. Good morning, sir. Could I get your name and address for the record?
Good morning, David Stokes, 431 East Ratio, Maitland, Florida, here with the applicant, Mr. Casey Clark.
Yep, my name is Casey Clark, and I'm at 1945 South Glencoe Road in New Smyrna.
All right. You've heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
First, just thank staff. It's a pretty good report. This parcel has been existing for a long time. I'm not sure when it changed from 1909, but prior to 1978, it was in the form it is in now. So we've been going through the steps just to get it to where it's a buildable lot of record where someone could build a home. We did the non-conforming lot letter. Cobb Cole Law Firm did that. This hasn't been created by the applicant or the prior owners. We went through the overall development plan process to establish it as a buildable lot of record. And then the final step is coming before you guys to deal with the setbacks because of the size. Obviously, it's not 10 acres. It's only 1 1/4, being on a corner, and then also having the wetlands and the 50-foot buffer. And then we had to dedicate a varying width, but it's roughly 20-ish feet on the east side for Sam Sula as well, which further reduced the distance on the parcel. So that's kind of why we're here today, just to get a reasonable size home built. And that's why it's also in that southwest corner is the wetlands or the northeast corner. Sam Sula is obviously on the east and the south side of the parcel as well. So we're just trying to, we 50 by 60 pad roughly of a buildable area, nothing crazy, avoiding the wetlands and the buffers and the road, of course.
All right, sir. Anything you would like to add?
No comments, but happy to answer any questions you guys have about it.
All right. Do we have any, Mr. Costa?
This is in my backyard, guys. Literally. So my question, I have several questions for you. Number one, I don't see any letters of support from the neighbors. And Sam Sula is a pretty tight-knit community. So have you talked to any of the neighbors about what's going on here?
Yes, and they were all notified too through the process of the notifying them that I'm asking for the variance. So
Any
they all
pushback?
No, none. In fact, again, one of them had offered to potentially make an offer on it once this was done because they were looking to basically move their homestead to give their daughter, and they were going to think about building here potentially. So.
All right, and that section of Sam Sula Drive is county-maintained dirt road, and that intersection right there, that turnaround is, now on the weekends, it seems like it's pretty heavy because you got that farmer's market back there. So my question is, how is that going to impact the flow of traffic? I mean, when you start doing construction, because it's our tax dollars that are fixing that road, is my point, is you're going to be tearing that road up with, construction equipment back and forth. And is there any kind of fair share in there or something to help out the situation?
No, my question is, are we worried about the traffic coming from the Saturday farmers market, or are we worried about what I'm bringing in?
Well, no, what you're bringing in with the heavy equipment when you start building that house, that's my problem. Yeah. I know when I built my house also on a dirt road, between the concrete trucks, the cranes, you're tearing that road up. And I gave the neighbors that I would replace everything that was done after the fact. And I'm just looking at that between the traffic that you have already from the farmer's market, and you're adding the construction traffic on that road. It's going to take its toll for sure.
Well, and remember too that this is at the very end of that road. It's not, again, that farmer's market is way up in the front. For us, I'd be happy to, do some sort of bring in additional shell after it was done.
Right. Okay.
Would be but I built on a dirt road as well, and the neighbors were pretty accommodating with how to get it done, as long as I was grading it out and doing everything else. With it being county maintained, I know that I can't touch it. So whatever we got to do to make it happen, I'd be open to accommodating that.
Are we building to keep or building to flip?
Undecided at this point. We wanted permission to be able to know whether we could even build out there first.
Okay.
And then, much like the lady who has, was doing the ADU for her mother, I'm kind of on the other end of the spectrum where I've got a daughter who's graduating, and we all know how expensive prices are around here. I didn't know if even building a house for them might be, something. But to know whether it's buildable, I guess, is the first step in it.
Right. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions? Ms. Bush?
Yes, thank you. So is your building footprint that you're asking, do you have a rendering of what how do you know what the outline, you're just asking for this area to be able to build within?
We're asking for permission because, again, with as expensive as it's been to get to this step with all the environmentals and the surveys and everything else, we wanted to make sure that we could get to this point first before we even brought in renderings and doing all that stuff. So
Understood. But my question is, the house layout could be, you could have a smaller footprint, right? Because you don't have the house designed yet.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. This would be the absolute maximum. We want to build something that's appropriate for that area out there. We're not looking to put some sort of giant mansion or, two-story monstrosity. Yeah, it would be appropriate for the area.
Yeah, the squares was estimated based on like a 2,000-ish square foot house with porches and a garage.
Okay.
And so once we got to that, we kind of got to that 50 by 60 square once you accommodate all that.
Mm-hmm.
So even though the square footage is larger, the livable area is going to be like low twos.
Okay.
Once you have porches and a garage.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, do we have any public participation forms? Mr. Costa?
Yeah, the site plan that's up there, that's, you guys generated that, correct?
Yes, sir.
What is tell me what the green shaded area means?
So there's with the wetlands, there's also a floodplain on the property. So
Okay, that's a floodplain?
That's the green is compensating storage for the red, which is where
Compensating
the
storage. All right,
tax
gotcha.
volume. So it's an equal volume to not
Okay.
impact the compensating storage.
All right, yeah, I didn't see it. If it's labeled, I didn't see that. That's why I asked the question.
It's cut off on that page. There's a legend that didn't get correct
Okay.
in that view.
And the red is obviously the impact. That's the area you're looking for, the variance. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, sir, we don't have any public participation forms, so we're going to close the floor for public participation and open up for commission discussion or motion.
I'll be glad to make a motion.
Go ahead, Ms. Shelley.
I move that we approve case number V-25-069, subject to the 3 staff conditions.
I'll second that.
Okay, I got a motion on the floor to approve variance V-25069 with the 3 staff conditions for variances 1, 2, and 3 from Ms. Shelley, and a second from Mr. Urson. Any discussion on the motion? I will say one thing, and I've always said this again and again and again. We've got an A1 class zoning classification with a 100-foot setback, front yard setback. It's more restrictive than I don't know of any other zoning that has that 100 foot, other than the ag zonings that we have, or forestry probably. And then we got a side yard setback of 50 foot. They're going 25 feet. A residential setback's only 5 feet. So here we go again. And I just want to continue to beat the drum on this, because I think the setbacks on these agricultural properties are just too great, just because they've got the area to do so. Ms. Bush.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Comment and a question, I guess, for staff. So I was curious, one, I agree with the A1 and the fact that those setbacks are excessive. We've had that discussion. But my question is, I don't really feel like A1 as a zoning district fits for this lot. And then, so I was curious, I'm like, why is it a substandard lot? Why is it, like 50,000 square feet, it seems like. And so then I went and looked at the plat for this entire area, and none of the lots are 10 acres or greater. They're all 50,000 square feet. So why, I guess, for staff, number one, why is this zoned A1? And number two, is there a way to administratively rezone these parcels so that as they do come up for development, that we're not having to go through this every single time?
Administrative rezoning would be an exercise driven by county council. I don't know how successful previous administrative zonings are. Usually when when the government comes in and says, I would like to rezone your property, even if it's to your benefit, they tell us, slam the door in our face. Kind of difficult to do that, and to do it on a lot by lot basis requires a lot of I guess effort and money that the county doesn't have to do those one-to-one administrative rezonings, rather than just go through this process. I mean, that's an option. And Scott, I think A1 changed, right? The standards of A1 were different from one year to another.
The A1 was changed in 1980 when the Uniform Zoning Ordinance was adopted. A1 was 5 acres, and it was increased to 10 acres in 1984. And this area has the A1 zoning because it has a agricultural resource land use designation, which dictates a density of 1 unit per 10 acres, and the A1 meets that. And this is part of an old plat, as you looked at old Howard Couriers, but most of the properties in this area are groups of accumulation of lots. They're not. This is one of the somewhat rare situation where this is a single lot of that plat, and that's why you have a non-conforming lot. But a lot of the properties in this area are acreage based on multiple lots as part of the tax parcel.
And I also want to jump in. This is one of the most rural areas of our county. So to down zone, you'd have to do a full land use change for the whole area. And an area that we, right now, since it is rural, do not want to be providing any type of utilities out there. So the more homes we allow, then we're going to get into a safety issue with fire rescue and all of those things. So
No, I
just wanna
understand.
caution.
Yeah, no, well, that's why I'm asking the question, right? It's because of the difference between what you're telling me it's zoned and then what the parcel structure looks like, right? It's two totally different things.
Yeah, and this is that 1909 multiple square mile plat. It's across a large portion of the county. So we do see this coming in a lot.
Understood. Just from my quick review of the parcel information, it does seem like there are multiple owners of these smaller parcels. So I understand I don't really understand the financial impact on the county, but I understand the time and effort that it takes on the county to administratively rezone these parcels. But I see this time and time again where our county council says, well, it's in the A1 zoning district, so it should be allowed to do X, Y, and Z, but that's not necessarily what we're seeing when we're getting these variance applications and or when we're seeing the changes happening in our community. So there's a disconnect, and I'm just bringing that up to say maybe that's something that the county needs to consider, is whether or not the zoning is fitting for the land use and for the parcel sizes the way that they're chopped up today, right? Because anybody that owns one of these 50,000 square foot lots can come forward and go through the same process these gentlemen did, build a single family home and flip it and sell it. And now we have a lot of single family residential in an area that's not meant for that.
Okay. I've got a motion on the floor. Do I not?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Any other discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Yes, sir. Case number V-26-001, a variance to the accessory structure requirements on Stone Island Planned Unit Development, PUD, zoned property.
Mr. Harris, this one is yours.
Good morning again. For the record, Courtney Harris, Planner 2. The applicant is seeking 2 variances to the minimum yard requirements to construct a 984 square foot boat storage building on Stone Island Planned Unit Development Zone property within the Enterprise Community Overlay Zone. Variance 1 is to reduce the rear yard from 30 feet to 3 feet. Variance 2 is to reduce the side yard from 10 feet to 3 feet. The subject parcel is approximately 19,815 square feet and is part of the Stone Island Estate Unit 1 subdivision that was approved in 1975 under the former West Volusia zoning regulations as a community development plan. The zoning was later reclassified to PUD with the adoption of the 1980 Uniform Zoning Ordinance. The PUD established minimum yard requirements of 25 feet for the front, 10 feet for the side, and 30 feet for the rear. Because the PUD did not include special standards for accessory structures, the accessory structure requirements of section 72-277 apply. The property is developed with a single family residence built in 1972 and a 140 square foot shed. The proposed building would be placed in the northeast corner of the property, only 3 feet from both the rear and east property lines. The parcel is located within the natural resource management area and included in flood zone AE. Environmental permitting reviewed this request and had no objection, provided all applicable environmental standards are met. Staff recommendation is to deny variance requests 1 and 2 as they fail to meet criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Should the PLDRC find that the applicant has provided competent substantial evidence to support approval of the variances, staff has provided 3 conditions for consideration. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Harris. Any questions for staff? Is the applicant present? Thank you, Mr. Harris. You have heard the staff report. Anything you'd like to add to that?
Yes, sir. My name is Zachary Huffman. I live at 524 Providence Boulevard in Deltona. This is my mom's property, which will eventually occupy one day. Because of how the home is situated on the property, this is the only area where the building would fit without sticking out past the house to make it keep on looking good. We're just trying to build a boat storage facility to store 2 airboats, a offshore boat, and a flats boat. And one day I will occupy this property eventually when my mom moves on.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant? Ms. Bush?
Yes. Did the neighbor specifically to, I guess, the right support this request, or did you ask them how they felt about putting
I
it?
believe my brother talked to him, and he was okay with it. He's here, I believe, today.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got
You're
a
the neighbor?
participation form
Okay.
for him.
Cool. And then, is there a reason why you couldn't move it to comply with the setbacks?
It would be too far over and we'd have to remove the shed, probably. We could probably work with 5 foot and 5 foot on the back and the side, or we could go with a smaller building. We're just trying to put a boat storage facility. We didn't want it to stick out past the back of the house because it wouldn't look well. And there's other properties on Stone Island that have boat storage facilities, but on these other 2 properties, the actual house is located to the left or right of the middle of the property, not sitting right in the middle of the property.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
And on the other side, we couldn't do it on the other side because we would have to rip out sprinklers and a sprinkler system in order to do it on the other side. And we've already started on the right side. We took down a big oak tree to make room for it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? We do have a public participation form. I'll give you a chance for rebuttal after we've heard their discussion. So if you want to have a seat close by, I'll let you come back up. Mr. Robert Moran.
I'm here to oppose that.
Could I get you your name and address for the record,
Robert
sir?
Moran, 1450 Shelmont Road.
Okay.
Enterprise.
Something you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, so when you look at the property or the structure, that area between the 2 lots, there's a natural culvert. So when Stone Island floods, water comes through there. So the front of the property, there's actually a pipe that goes underneath the road. On the other side of my house, there's a dredge culvert that also flows. So everything flows away from the lake to the back of the property. Where that structure is that he's proposing, that's the first place where water will sit. So my concern is that structure is going to drive water into my property. And a structure of that size, I'm just kind of concerned about that infringing on my setback. I don't see why it needs to be 1,000 square feet when the house is 1,900 square feet. But I would like to also have environmental come out there and look at it, even if it was in the proper position. How is that going to affect the water flow when we get flooded again? Because both houses were flooded during Ian and had to be redone.
So your concern, sir, is the side yard setback?
Correct.
And what about the rear yard?
That's not my yard.
Pardon me?
That's not my yard.
Got it.
On the side.
Okay.
So that's going to be visually, I have a pool area back there that's screened in. So visually, that's what I'm going to see is that structure. The way they have it positioned, they won't see it from inside their house. From my house, I will.
Okay. Any questions for the speaker? Mr. Costa.
So would you're You're opposed to the, as it's shown here, a 3 foot, but would you support a 5 foot?
No.
You would not support a 5 foot either. You would support any variance whatsoever.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank
All right, sir, thank you. All right, do we have any other public participation forms for this case?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Huffman, if you'd like to come back up for rebuttal, make a comment.
So if we go 10 feet, he can't say anything, right?
Well, no, sir, as long as you get your proper permitting from the side yard and the 30-foot on the rear yard. It depends on when you apply for your permit. You can ask staff about this. It would depend on if there is an environmental concern, they may require environmental to take a look at it.
I don't see how there would be an environmental concern.
Well, that's not for not for me to decide, sir, or this board to decide if there is.
Okay.
Hold on, Mr. Costa.
Yeah, so the setback, your side setback is 10 foot. So if this variance were to say that you're only looking at a 3 foot variance on the back, you want the variance for the back and leave the side yard at 10 foot, then correct. That's you're just looking for one variance, not two.
Okay.
So you could easily slide, if you could slide it over 10 feet, stay within the requirement of 10 foot on the side yard, and the variance is only applied for the back
Yes, sir.
entrance, then I think that would be a motion that we can amend on the floor as we go. That's something we can make, the change we can make as we go. So if you're okay with that, that's how I present the motion in that fashion, that we strike variance number 2 and just looking at variance number 1.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That would take you outside of his concern of the plane, and yes, you're right, that would put you inside the standard requirement setback, which is 10 feet.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other comments from staff? Any other comments to the applicant? All right, we're going to close the floor for public participation, open up for commission discussion or a motion. Mr. Costa.
And yeah, before I make the motion, question for legal. So on this particular one, can we just deny variance 2 and accept variance 1?
Yes.
So it's 2 separate motions then?
I would recommend 2 separate motions.
Okay, perfect. All right. In that case, let's start off. I'll make a motion on case V-26-001 on variance 1. The motion is to approve. Need a second? Okay, and then a second motion on case V-26-001.
Take one motion
Yeah,
at a time.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, we'll separate the
Gotcha.
variances.
You got it.
Okay. All right, I got a motion on the floor with the 3 conditions from staff. Does the conditions still apply if we, on the variance 1?
I believe that the
I would hope so.
the conditions would obviously not
Yep.
apply.
Variance 1, 2.
What? Really?
Hold on, we would need to modify the condition 1 so that it only references variance 1.
Okay.
Um,
I think the rest are fine.
Yeah.
yes, that's it.
All right, I'll amend my motion to basically say approve variance 1 with conditions 1, 2, and 3, changing condition number 1 to only specify variance 1.
Yep, second.
That sounded convoluted, but I think you got
You're
the point.
good. Okay. I got a motion on the floor for Mr. Costa to approve variance 1 for V-26-001 with the 3 conditions for staff with the, to reflect on on the condition 1 to apply just to variance 1. Make sense?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Miss Bush.
Yes, I'm not opposed to amending the motion and doing variance 1 and not doing variance 2, but I do want to put this out there for the consideration of the commission and the applicant. You're going to have to shift this building over now 10 feet. It might come into conflict with the storage sheds. You might have to move that. You might even want to back off the rear lot line when shifting this building around in order to not have to apply for the second variance. So I personally would like to see this maybe tabled and or continued to allow him to shift the building where he needs it and then come back to us with the exact variance for the rear yard that would be appropriate. if we do this today, then you're kind of locked in, and if you move the building and need an additional variance, say you need 2 feet or 1 foot, then we're going to have to come back here and see us again. So that's the only reason I bring that up, is just to allow him that flexibility to move the building and maybe ask for a lesser variance than what's presented today.
Well, that's a question.
Well, in saying that, the proposed structure, actually, he couldn't, if he moves it over to the 10 foot, how close would it be to the resident there?
He needs to
You wanna
come
ta-
back
okay.
up.
Can you come up?
Okay.
And I'm going to assume you're asking for a continuance.
Yes, maybe we have a continuance so we can re-look at this and see what, and do some more research and see what type of different building
30
we can
days or
do.
60 days?
Excuse me?
30 days or 60 days?
30 days would be fine.
I think that's a great idea because I would be voting no on both of these.
I support that as well.
Okay. All right, then I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay.
The motion to, you wanted 30?
Yes, sir.
Let's
To
do a
next
date
month-
certain.
ne-
When's the next PLDRC
That's
meeting?
December 18.
It's the 18th.
Okay. Does that?
You're good with that?
I'll withdraw my original motion and make a second motion, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
On case V-26-001, that we continue this case to December 18th PLDRC meeting.
Second.
Okay. I've
Thank
got a
you.
motion on the floor to continue variance V26001 to our next meeting of December 18th, 2025. And it's from a motion from Mr. Costa and a second from Ms. Shelley. Any discussion on the motion? I will say this, I would like, so Mr. Moran doesn't come back, even though, he can if he would like to come back at our next meeting. But I would like for it to be put in the record that his discussion, and that we can go over his discussion, so he does not have to reappear to this board.
Yes, everything is continued from today. It's just a continuance of this
Yeah,
discussion.
but I would
so-
like that if it would go into the record, that his discussion, so we would definitely know what's going on here with him, so he does not have to come back. Because otherwise, a lot can happen in a month's time. You're more than welcome to come back, but I'm making it this way so you don't have to. Okay? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll see you next month. Ms. Shelley, could I get the next case, please?
Case number 0-26-010. Ordinance number 2025-26, amending Chapter 72 of the Code of Ordinances regarding certified recovery residences, establishing a process for requesting accommodations from land use rules and regulations that prohibit such residences.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Shelley. Mr. Soria, let's hear it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Do we have a choice? Let me ask you
No,
that.
you do not have a choice. The good people at Tallahassee have written a bill that says that we need to have an ordinance in place prior to January 1st, 2026 that makes a reasonable accommodation for certified recovery facilities. Recovery facilities, you may know them as sober houses. We don't have a lot in the unincorporated area of the county. Most of them are located in the city. I think the last time we treat them as group homes. I think the last time we approved a group home was something like 10 years ago. So this establishes a process for certified recovery facilities. The state has a voluntary certification program for these types of sober houses. And essentially what it's saying is, like, if they get that certification, you need to have a reasonable accommodation standard. So reasonable accommodation is slightly different from the variance process. In variances, you are looking at the property. You're looking at, okay, does the property prevent construction? Here, when you do reasonable accommodation, it's usually in connection with some kind of ADA or disability. You can look at the person. You can look at the activities. You can look at the business model. So it broadens it. So if there is a best management practices associated with a certified recovery facility and it runs into one of our land development regulations, they can make a reasonable accommodation request. We'll look at it and whether or not the BMPs actually require that, and it's driven on the staff at the staff level for efficiency purposes. Now, if they're just a standard sober house and they don't have that state recovery, we do not have to make a reasonable accommodation to them.
So you're telling me that if it's certified, we have to make reasonable accommodations to apply for it, or reasonable accommodations to give it to them?
We have to make a reasonable accommodation when their use of the property or their best management practices of a certified recovery facility runs into conflict with one of our land development regulations. Access requirements, wetland activities, or I think it's maybe a setback provision. So I
Yeah.
think it's 45 feet for group homes. So they need to be 45 feet from any of the property lines. So that's kind of specific to the user. So if they lose their certification, or if they're no longer a certified recovery facility, then they lose the accommodation.
Okay. Ms. Bush, you had a question?
Yes, I have a couple actually, and this is in the ordinance text specifically. On page 8, line 104, it states, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this, but I just want it for the record. If a final written determination is not issued within 60 days, it's deemed approved. Is this language required by the state?
Yes.
Okay. Page 8, line 109, it says within 30 days, that basically you have 30 days to appeal it and contest it. But what if the residents don't move in for 30 days into this home? What if there's construction going on, rehab, etc.? Now residents do not have the ability to appeal this decision because that 30 days is up. I was wondering if we could extend that to 60 or 90, or if that is a state statute requirement as well.
That may be a state provision. Let me check.
I would also assume that as well, considering the language, but if we could extend it and provide the residents around the area that are impacted by this more time to appeal, or maybe change the language to say that when a CO is issued for the building and when the business is in operation, then it's 30 days, something that clarifies to say that it's not just, it exists.
Now that is something we can actually increase, because it's, yes, we can increase that.
Okay. If I was to be a resident next to one of these facilities and they were to say not operate in good faith in the community, I would want the opportunity to have a longer time frame to appeal to, I'm assuming, the city council, right? I think that's what was in the ordinance.
Yes.
I would want that time. So I'm okay with 60 or 90. Just 30 is just, I don't think enough.
Ms. Craig?
I'm just wondering if the process at this point wouldn't have been long enough that the neighbors could have had an opportunity, had more than enough opportunity to speak to that as an issue.
From what I understand of the process, it's all administrative. It's handled by staff. It doesn't go through any public review. So would the neighbor know until the business is in operation and the residents are there? And if they're doing nefarious things, then that's where the appeal process would come in.
Mr. Costa?
Yeah, just so I can get clarification here on Mr. First Staff. This applies to across all zonings,
Yes.
irregardless.
Yes.
So whatever we have in our zoning code, this supersedes it.
Yes.
So this could be over here in Victoria Park.
If it's a group home, yes. Oh, a certified group home. So
Certified group home. Yeah.
Right.
There's no. I'm not seeing any dimensions, any minimum square footage or anything like that, or how many bedrooms. So any home could be a quote unquote group home in any subdivision in the county.
Yes.
Yeah, I got a little bit of an issue with that, personally.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was a state statute
Yeah.
a few years ago
Yes,
that preempted us. Okay.
Yes, we are required to accommodate these types of facilities and not discriminate against them. There's two factors, there's a Fair Housing Act and there's the right of people to group together, to live together. that kind of is implicated by these types of regulations. These only apply to the certified recovery facilities. So that's a higher bar than just a house that offers itself as a sober house or a recovery house.
And okay, so this doesn't also specify whether or not these group homes are for profit or nonprofit. Doesn't specify one way or the other. So what I'm saying is technically, if I lived in Victoria Park and I wanted to set up a gunsmithing operation in my home, that would not be allowed by code. But you're telling me that this, if it's a for-profit business group home, that would be allowed, and there's nothing we can do about it?
Yes. So long as if it's certified and the best management practices of that certification require come into conflict with our rules and regulations, we would have to accommodate that.
So, and with all your legal smarts, there's no way around this where we can basically just designate a particular zoning or two zoning categories these are group homes within these two zonings, No?
You could, but then someone could just say, hey,
Challenge
I'm
it.
doing a group home and your zoning prohibits this group home and
Got it.
I'm going to make a reasonable accommodation.
So we'd be right back to this ordinance. Okay.
I might add too, one of the loopholes that we've run into before would be, that we've been able to use would be compatibility. That wouldn't apply here, would it?
It's, I think the state actually specifically says you must treat these in the same way as regular housing. That's why they're called recovery residences, and they're not treated under the state as a business. And they don't even treat them as multifamily sometimes. They're just treated as a single family with, multiple unrelated people living in the home.
Okay. I know there's been some pushback on SB 180. Has there been any pushback on this statute?
There's been some chatter on how to accommodate these requests. A lot of it is because it's a new requirement. What does the process look like? What considerations can you make and not fall afoul of either the state or federal Fair Housing Act?
Okay. As we proceed through this and run into these issues, well, I wouldn't say issues, these things, is there an amendment process to this ordinance that we're passing today or moving forward today? What's the amendment process if we find that there's other ways to do it other than what's in our proposed ordinance? Can we go back and amend this ordinance?
Yes.
We don't have a time frame or anything of that nature.
No. So long as we're consistent with the statute and we're consistent with the state and federal Fair Housing Acts, we can refine the process in the event we actually run into any issues.
Okay, because I can see some pushback coming from down the road on this statute, not our ordinance, but the statute itself. Our hands are pretty much tied. They're shoving it down our throat, pretty much.
And I think most of the pushback is going to be in your cities and your very urbanized areas, because of the way these function. They need a kind of urban support system to work. Sometimes you can get them out in the middle of nowhere, but most of these operate in urban.
Okay, Mr. Costa?
Yep. This doesn't specify, but as I'm reading these levels, you got 1 through 4 here. They're talking about sobriety, sober living. So we're not talking about pedophiles or anybody. No. This is strictly drug and alcohol related homes.
I believe alcohol. I think it's alcohol, drug and alcohol. Yes.
Drug and alcohol related homes. All right. So I look at a C and D, which is levels 3 and 4 on here, where they're having 24-hour on-site staff. How do you work that in a neighborhood where you've got now it's a 24-hour operation, and so you've got cars coming and going 24 hours a day in a single-family residential neighborhood? How do you justify that? That's my question.
It's a business model, so they would look at, okay, does this makes sense if you're level 3. That's a pretty intense type of recovery
Mhm.
facility. You know, buying a 50 by 120-foot lot in the middle of a neighborhood may not be the best business decision if you have to accommodate and keep your certification
Mhm.
with on-site staff 24 for 24 hours. It's expensive real quick, and you may run into covenants and restrictions that would prohibit that.
But that's a business decision on their end. But out from the county's end, though, isn't that something that you could deny because of that particular case, or this basic ordinance that says you can't deny, you got to approve it, push it through?
If they get the certification, we'd have to accommodate that particular use to the extent that we
And the
would have to.
certifications are site specific.
Yes.
So the state would do due diligence on the particular site to make sure that it works.
Yes.
For the surrounding areas. All right, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay, Ms. Bush?
Yes, so couple things. One, just as a reminder for everyone, this original law was what, 2018, I think the statute came in when they preempted us and required community residential homes. They defined how many residents were within them, and basically said, you know, sorry, local planning organizations, you're preempted. You have to allow these everywhere. You have to define it as such. This is just an addition to the various uses within the community residential group home. It could be for people with disabilities, it could be for seniors. Like, there are varying different uses and ways that a community residential home could be used. Many of so have 24-hour care and staff and are having those challenges with traffic anyway. So I just wanted to point that out. I think this is an addition to that original legislation back in 2018. The other thing that I wanted to note here was that anywhere that we could have a level of control, which is why I think increasing those dates for appeal processes, for your administrative processes, would be beneficial. So I asked, did you model this off of an existing ordinance or something that, has anybody adopted this administrative policy that you guys are requesting, taking it through staff and staff only? Where did you get the ordinance information?
I think there was a Escambia County has one,
Okay.
and then we tracked the complying as minimally as possible with the state statute.
Okay.
It's like, okay, what are you telling us we have to do, and we are going to do that and that only. So that's,
I appreciate that. Two more things, I apologize. In the future, it would be really nice to provide the state statute in the backup. I had to go look it up, and then I had to read it, and then I was like, wait a minute, and I was trying to link all these things, and on 4 hours of sleep, I don't recommend that. Then the second question that I asked is twofold. One, since community residential group homes were amended and allowed within any zoning district, have you been tracking them first? And second, are you planning on tracking these as well? If you are not tracking them currently, will you be tracking them?
yes, we will be tracking them. I think the last time we approved a group home, we tracked them for various purposes. Some community services tracks them when they get grants. And then we track them when we used to issue special exception permits prior to 2018.
Right.
So we have not seen a group home or a sober house in unincorporated Volusia County for a number of years. But if we do get the request, we'll know where they are. Obviously, they have to come in and make application.
Right.
So we'll have a tracking system set up for it.
Okay. And not every community residential home has to come in for that. If the home is set up that way and they don't have building, then it can fly under the radar, right? We had that in the city that I worked for. We didn't know that it was operating.
And a lot of these, are kind of shady fly-by-night type, organizations. The
Some, not all.
the certified ones have a they have that state control. They have that state certification where you need to check in, they need to comply with the standards. And if they lose that certification, which is appealable, anyone can actually appeal the certification in addition to the local reasonable accommodation. If they lose that, they lose the reasonable accommodation.
Thank you.
Ms. Craig, you had a comment?
Yes, this goes back to Mr. Costa's issue earlier about 24-hour access or staffing. In a previous life, I've worked at a residential treatment facility, and basically the staff that was there at night spends the night there. I mean, that as much as possible, the house is run like a normal home would be. And bedtime, lights out, staff might sit around and smoke cigarettes for a while or whatever, but then they go to bed. So there's not the kind of traffic issues that you might have during the day. And so I think that as an issue is really somewhat minimal. I can understand there might be times when there might be disruption that needed to be addressed, but in theory, it shouldn't be much more than in a normal residential setting.
All
Is
right.
there any discussion on changing the appeal time frame? Because right now it's 30 days. It doesn't have to be 30
I'm
days.
in support of 90 on line 109. If I make a motion,
90?
that's what I was
I'm
going to do.
I'm good with that.
To what?
To 90 days
90
instead
days.
of 30 days.
Appeal time.
Line 109.
So with that said, I guess I'll go ahead and make the motion to forward ordinance 2025-26 to the county council with recommendation of approval. However, amending line 109 to read 90 days rather than 30.
I'll second.
I got a motion on the floor to forward ordinance 2025-26 to the county council with recommendation of approval with the amendment of line 109 to reflect 90-day appeal process rather than 30. I got that from Mr. Urson and a second from Ms. Bush. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, that pretty much covers our new business. Do we have any other public items? Anyone want to address that, public items?
Nope.
Do we have any other staff items?
We do have a few staff items. Hi, Samantha West, Planning Manager. Nice to finally join you all. So you all made a motion to bring forward to County Council a request to potentially increase your stipend of the $200 per month for each member per year. As you discussed before, that was from that 1987 or so resolution. That's for an expense allowance. So we looked into our budget to see if there was any way we could increase it. We have no fat in our budget at all. So we would not be able to increase it mid-block during this fiscal year. It would have to be an actual request to council. Besides the resolution, it would have to be an amendment to our budget. $600, well, let's say $200 per member per year is $16,800 that we have allocated in our budget. If we were to increase that to $600, as was brought up at the last meeting, that would be $50,400. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. We also researched to see what other boards were paid. The Code Enforcement Board is the only other board that is paid. They get $100 per meeting, and if they miss a meeting, they do not get paid. So I wanted to bring that to your attention so you were aware, especially in light of the cuts that council has been doing recently for multiple items that were already budgeted. We would probably, on staff level, want some justification. Receipts for expenses that you've had, that would help. And Chair Mills probably in attendance at the council meeting to answer any questions from the council. So wanted to bring that up. If you want to discuss it, or if you want staff to keep moving forward with it, we're figuring out the best route to bring that to council if you still want us to.
I will say that the last council meeting, there was some discussion on filling these boards, and that might increase the the people wanting to be on these boards, because when you start paying out of the pocket, I mean, this is something I would bring towards council. There would be more participation, I would think, whether it be for the right reason or not. That's for discussion, but I don't know how, well, I'll let some of the other members speak first. Mr. Costa.
Yeah, the obvious low-hanging fruit here would be these agendas and how much time you guys spent together printing them, mailing them. What is that cost factor? Because you take that out of your budget and put it back into our pockets, if you will, and just basically we go, it's fully electronic. We're on our own to either bring our own tablets or print our own paper if that's what we want. But as you know, paper's not cheap. Neither is toner. So and then plus all the drive time, that $200 is, I mean, we're probably putting more out of pocket than that. So I'm done.
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, I got Ms. Bush.
Thank you, Samantha. Just a quick question. That code board that you mentioned, that's Volusia County, correct?
Correct.
Did you look outside of any other jurisdictions to see what they pay or what their processes are for
We
their
have not.
planning and zoning?
But we can definitely have that as a part of the agenda item, however it would be presented to council.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty important to include. Like, what does Orange County do? What does Flagler, Brevard?
I believe you asked that last month.
I think I did.
You did.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not okay. Every once in a while, the lack of sleep. I'm like, didn't I say that? Did I? So I think that would be really critical, especially for decision-making process for us to say that we want to move that forward in a specific dollar amount, especially considering the big budget changes that would be proposed. I didn't sign up for this for the money. I didn't even know we got paid because, in my experience, these positions don't get paid. So I just want to understand what the landscape is before we move forward and ask the council to make any decision that really impacts the budget, especially now.
Okay, Mr. Urson.
Code enforcement provided vehicles?
No, they are not provided vehicles.
Because my concern is fuel. It's very expensive fuel.
Ms. Shelley?
I agree with Ms. Bush about checking those things out, but one of the things as well is I think it does have to do with the fact that we do travel to these sites, and I think maybe moving forward, if this is something, then perhaps we need to start keeping track of our mileage and costs, if that would help that discussion of driving out and say, I can even take a picture of, okay, here's my mileage and went out, those sort of things if they want to get that picky. But it's really has to do with all of the driving. To me, if it was just back and forth to DeLand, it's not necessarily an issue. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Ms. Bush?
I'm not sure if the state or if you all adhere to the state mileage reimbursement or the federal mileage reimbursement. There's a 20 cents difference between the two. The state is like 0.54, or I think it's like 0.45, or I think is the federal is like 0.6 or 0.7. Yeah, and that's why I bring up the mileage thing, because I don't think we want to hang our hat on that because it's so small. And it really does differ between if you're following the state requirement or the feds. So, and again, I'm not sure if other boards reimburse for mileage. If that's, I know at my organization we do for our contractors, and we do it based on the state rate because we have state contracts, so we can't go over the state rate for the state contracts. I bring that up because I think that if the county council is like, yes, we'll do reimbursement, I think we're going to lose, right?
Okay,
Money.
I'll withdraw my request.
Okay, I might add something else here too. Depending upon the council member, this could go in the negative way also. But I think we have enough, to present them that a rational person would see where the expenditures are at this day and time are getting quite expensive. But I just want to remind this board it could go in the negative way, because I know that there's been comments that no other board gets any kind of stepping. And so be careful. Tread on thin ice.
I agree with you, but how many of those other boards are also quasi-judicial as opposed to being just a advisory? I think that's
we
a
have a
differential
few
here.
quasi, like code enforcement is pure quasi-judicial because they take, access to their testimony is under oath, but they meet once a month depending upon unresolved code issues.
Mhm.
Yeah, and there is, yes, and our contractor licensing board deals with contractors gone rogue, and we have our historic preservation board. They are quasi judicial. They make determinations, and then I think that may be it for our quasi judicial boards. But their scope is narrower. They don't have to deal with the entire code and the entire comprehensive plan.
I will say this from the public standpoint, a lot of times we're looked at as especially nowadays with the development and everything that's going on, they look at us and think that we're making a lot of the decisions on the development process because we are the Planning and Land Development Regulatory Commission. And so we probably are impacted from the public more so than a lot of these boards of people reaching out to us wanting answers. We have to let them know that we are more of an advisory board to the council than we are making the end decision other than the variances and right now the special exceptions. And so looking at it from a board standpoint, I guess every board can say that they're more important than the next one, but we do pretty much take a lot of flack, if you want to call it that, from the general public and what we have to deal with sitting on this board. And maybe that's why it's so hard to get people to apply for the board. I don't know, but you have to be dedicated to be on here. It's not for the money.
Or the glory.
Okay.
Okay, so I have my points for research. I'll come back and bring it to you all next meeting, and you can make a decision whether we're going to continue going on to county council or not. But you'll have all the information. I'll try to actually get that out to you ahead of time so you can read through it and think about it overnight.
And
like I said, we
piggybacking
need
on-
to be careful on how we move forward with this because it could work in the negative side also.
And piggybacking on that, I was planning on taking the attendance policy in January, probably the second meeting in January, to council. I don't know if it's wise to coordinate with this request or keep them separate.
I'd like to keep them separate.
Yeah, separate.
Truthfully, I'd rather see this go before the attendance issue, but
All right.
I
want to get it done before March or before the March-April appointments because we're resetting the 12-month term. So
the resetting the 12-month term and also just adding a day. That's it. Right. To accommodate all the excused and unexcused.
We were just changing it to 4. Right.
Pardon me?
4. We were simplifying it. We're just making it.
Yeah, if you miss 4, you out.
Right.
Okay, in other words, you can miss 3. Okay. Okay, any other staff items?
One more. Okay, so I want to make sure that my PLDRC member preference sheet for how you get your packets is correct. So I want to go through that, and then y'all let me know if it is correct or not correct, and then I will have a request at the end of that. So Chair Mills, you're picking up your package.
Correct.
Right? Mr. Costa, we're mailing your package.
Correct.
Has it been coming in better?
This one did. Last one showed up Tuesday after our meeting.
Beautiful. Okay. All right. We will continue working with our mail couriers. Ms. Shelley, you're picking up your package. Okay. Mr. Sixma, we're mailing your package. Ms. Bush, we are emailing you the package and link. Okay. Ms. Craig, you are picking up your package. And Mr. Arison, we are emailing your package and link.
I've now changed that to have it here for me day of.
Okay, day of. All right. Being picked up by someone. Yes, so there is a pickup. Okay, perfect. And so if you ever want to change what you're doing, let us know ahead of time. Preferably, if we need to print your packages or you're thinking you're going to forget it or something happened, let us know noon the Wednesday before so that gives staff time to be able to print it because I work them pretty hard, so they have full schedules. All right, and that's the only thing that I have.
Anyone else on the staff items? Okay, staff comments,
No, sir.
commission comments. Ms. Craig?
Yes, this is addressed to staff. If I could, when there are changes to the agenda items that come in late, the way that we had with one case today, it would be helpful for me anyway if you would specify where the change is, either with highlighting or with specific line reference. Would be most appreciative.
Noted. Thank you.
Any other commission comments? I'd like to say I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Don't eat too much. And hopefully we'll see you back next month. Any press and citizen comments? This meeting is adjourned. Slashing the budget? It's pretty much all of them. I think they come to a general consensus that they want to try to cut wherever they can cut. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me.